freedom. It is the foundational promise of the modern world. The freedom to speak, to choose, to act, to become. We celebrate it in our laws, our art, and our national anthems. We have more choices than any generation in human history what to believe, who to love, how to spend our time. On the surface, we are the freest people who have ever lived. But let me ask you a question, a deeply uncomfortable one. Amidst all this external liberty, do you actually govern yourself? You have the freedom to work on your most important project, yet you are commanded by the dopamine slot machine in your pocket to scroll for hours. You have the freedom to eat nourishing food, yet you are a subject to the tyranny of a sugar craving. You have the freedom to engage in calm, rational discussion, yet a single comment can hijack your emotions and hold your mind hostage for the rest of the day. You call yourself free, but are you your own master? 2,000 years ago, a man who knew the literal meaning of slavery, a man whose body was owned by another, gave us the ultimate definition of true liberty. He wasn't talking about laws or rights. He was talking about the inner kingdom. His name was Epictetus, and his warning echoes through the centuries. No man is free who is not master of himself. We've met Epictetus before, the slave who became a titan of philosophy. And this quote is the very heart of his teaching, made all the more powerful by his life story. Imagine the scene. Epictetus, legally the property of a wealthy Roman, observing his own master. He would see this powerful man, free in the eyes of the law, throw a fit of rage over a broken vase. He would see him consumed by anxiety over a political rumor, or made sick with jealousy over another's success. And Epictetus would ask, who is the real slave here? Is it the man whose body is in chains, but whose mind is sovereign, calm, and rational? Or is it the man whose body is free, but whose mind is violently jerked around by every passing impulse, emotion, and external event? For Epictetus, freedom was not a condition of your circumstances. It was a condition of your soul. It's the understanding that the doors to the most important prison are unlocked from the inside. So let's break down this radical redefinition of freedom. Epictetus is telling us that true liberty is not freedom to do what you want. It is freedom from being controlled by what you want. When you are a slave to your impulses, you are not in charge. The master is the short-term, reactive, animal part of your brain. Your rational, long-term, human mind, the part that holds your deepest values and goals, is locked in the dungeon. History is filled with examples of these powerful slaves. Take Alexander the Great. Here is a man who conquered the known world before the age of 30. He was a strategic genius, a king, an emperor who commanded absolute loyalty. In terms of external freedom, he was limitless. But was he master of himself? In a fit of drunken rage, he murdered his close friend, Clitus, the man who had once saved his life in battle. When the rage subsided, he was so consumed with grief and shame that he refused to eat or drink for days. Think about that. It's like being the final boss in a video game, but you keep getting wrecked by the tutorial-level enemy, your own temper. He could topple empires, but he couldn't master the anger rising in his own chest. Epictetus would say that in that moment of rage, Alexander, the master of the world, was a pathetic slave to his own passions. His vast kingdom was meaningless because he could not rule the tiny, chaotic kingdom of his own mind. This is the state of civil war that Epictetus warns us about. The short-sighted tyrant of, I want it now, whether it's more wine, more praise, or the release of anger, is constantly overthrowing the government of, I know what is best for me. Every time you choose the mindless scroll over the important book, every time you choose the angry retort over the dignified silence, you are voting for the tyrant. You are willingly tightening your own chains. Let's talk about our modern chains. They are not made of iron. They are made of code, dopamine, and social validation. Consider your phone. It is the greatest tool for connection and knowledge ever created. But for many of us, it has become our master. The architects of our digital world understand your neurology better than you do. They have designed algorithms not to serve you, but to capture and hold the most valuable resource you have, your attention. The mindless scroll is not a neutral act. It is an act of submission. You pick up the phone with a clear intention to send one email, to check one message. An hour later, you emerge from a hypnotic trance. Your time gone, your focus shattered, and your self-respect diminished. In that hour, who was the master? Was it you, the conscious, goal-oriented individual? Or was it the algorithm, a machine designed to exploit your brain's craving for novelty? This is the blueprint for all modern addiction, whether it's to food, substances, pornography, or outrage. The mechanism is identical. A temporary, low-level desire hijacks your will and overrules your most cherished long-term goals. This is the very definition of being a slave. You are living in service to a master you did not choose and do not respect. So, how do we break these chains? The Stoic answer is a word that the modern world has come to fear: discipline. We hear discipline and we think of punishment, restriction, a lack of freedom. This is a profound misunderstanding. Epictetus would argue that discipline is not the cage. Discipline is the key that unlocks the cage. The paradox of freedom is that it is forged in the fires of self-restraint. This isn't just theory. This is a survival strategy. Let me tell you a story. In 1965, a U.S. Navy pilot named James Stockdale was shot down over Vietnam. He was captured and spent the next 7.5 years in the infamous Hanoi Hilton prison camp. He was tortured, starved, and held in solitary confinement for years. His captors had total control over his body, his environment, his life. By any external measure, he was the least free person on earth. Yet, Stockdale would later say he was the one who held the power. How? Because before he was a pilot, he had studied philosophy. He knew Epictetus. He understood that while his captors could break his body, they could not touch his mind. They could not make him betray his country. They could not make him lose his integrity. They could not break his will. His captors controlled the externals, but he, James Stockdale, was the absolute master of his own internal world. He disciplined his mind to endure unimaginable pain. He disciplined his fear. He mastered his despair. He later wrote that it was Epictetus who saved his life. The quote, "No man is free who is not master of himself," wasn't an inspirational poster for him. It was the iron core of his survival. He was a prisoner of war, but he was not a slave. You might not be in a POW camp, but you're in a battle every day. A battle against procrastination, against distraction, against anxiety, against the urge to quit. The battlefield is different, but the war is the same. The choice is the same: master yourself, or be mastered by your circumstances. Discipline is the act of choosing your master. You can be ruled by your weakest, most fleeting impulses, or you can be ruled by your highest, most chosen principles. Only the second path leads to freedom. You are voluntarily putting on the chains of a chosen routine, so you can break the invisible chains of your own internal chaos. There is one final master, perhaps the most tyrannical of all: the opinion of other people. If a word of praise can make your day, and a word of criticism can ruin it, who is in control of your emotional state? If you find yourself constantly adjusting your personality, your words, and your values to win the approval of the crowd, are you your own person? This is the ultimate form of slavery for the modern individual. We have been conditioned to outsource our self-worth. We post a picture and our mood for the next 3 hours is determined by the number of likes it gets. We are more afraid of public judgment than of failing to live up to our own principles. To be a master of yourself is to reclaim this power. It is to decide that your own well-reasoned self-assessment is more important than the fleeting judgment of the entire world. It is to build an inner citadel whose walls are so thick that neither insults nor flattery can breach them. This is the final frontier of freedom. This philosophy is not just a theory, it is a training regimen. You must strengthen your will in the same way you strengthen a muscle. Here are 3 practical ways to begin your training in self-mastery today. The impulse audit. For the next 24 hours, become a scientist of your own mind. When you feel a strong urge to check your phone, to eat the junk food, to make a sarcastic comment, don't act. Just pause, take a breath, and simply observe the feeling. Notice its quality. Notice its intensity. By creating this tiny space between stimulus and response, you prove to yourself that the impulse does not command you. This space is where your freedom is born. Practice voluntary discomfort. Willpower is built through resistance. Once a day, intentionally do something you'd rather avoid. Take a cold shower for the last 30 seconds. Skip the sugar in your coffee. Don't use your phone for the first hour of the day. These small acts of deliberate self-denial are like lifting weights for your self-control. They teach your body that your mind is in charge, not the other way around. Define your inner ruler. Who is the master you want to serve? Take 10 minutes and write down the principles of your ideal self. Is this person calm, courageous, disciplined, honest? This document becomes your constitution. When you face a choice, don't ask, "What do I feel like doing?" Ask, "What would the master of myself do?" Then act accordingly. The promise of the modern world was external freedom, but the promise of philosophy is internal freedom. It's a freedom that no government can grant and no circumstance can take away. It is the deep, quiet, unshakable power that comes from knowing that you are in command of your own soul. So, are you free? The answer is not in your rights or your possessions. The answer is in your next choice. The choice between impulse and intention, between chaos and order, between being a slave to your whims and a master of yourself. Remember the words of the man who was owned by another, yet possessed a freedom greater than any emperor. No man is free who is not master of himself. Choose your master. Choose freedom. If this message resonated, help us spread the discipline by liking and subscribing. And in the comments below, tell us, what is one chain you will commit to breaking this week?